welcome. Today, this is the Big Chat. My name is Donna. I'm here with my co-host Denise. And today's topic, we're going to go ahead and discuss the men behind the mic. And one person that we're going to talk about today, his name is Busta Brown. Mm-hmm. And you might remember him from 102 Jams.
And I remember him from late night TV.
That's right. He did late night TV. That was pretty cool. He is a funny guy. And he was telling me from beginning to end how he started in business and then, into the, being on the mic and everything and how he got into it.
He started when he was a kid, right?
Well, not necessarily when he was a kid, but just let's look at the video. I think you're going to like it.
Okay.
And I'm here with my good friend Busta Brown.
Hey there.
And we're going to talk about Busta Brown, what he's done in the past, what he's doing now, and what makes Busta Brown. So, anyway, tell us a little bit about yourself, Busta.
I tell you what's interesting is that I just realized today that I've been doing radio and TV here for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And come August, so I'm celebrating my 20th anniversary.
Oh, wow.
I just realized that. So what I'm going to do is figure out how to throw a big 20th anniversary celebration. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I just figured that out. Isn't that crazy? 20 years here doing this stuff. Yeah, from Jams to 97 and, and all the other stuff all the way to XI where I am now. So, yeah, so I'm excited about that. Yeah, I didn't realize that until today.
Well, you heard it here on the Big Chat that he's going to have a 20th anniversary. So it's going to be pretty cool.
So look out. It's going to be huge. Yeah.
It's going to be big, baby.
And the crazy thing is my 20th anniversary and my 50th birthday is this year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't look 50.
Yeah,
no.
Whatever. Thank you. You don't look 50, 53. No.
Okay, so tell us a little bit, you mentioned about the fact that you are... that you was in radio, but now you're kind of transitioning into TV. Mm-hmm. So could you kind of back up a little bit, tell us how you started radio and how how your life developed and how you went into television?
How did I get into radio? Well, I can just start, I'll make it quick. My reason for wanting to do radio is I used to like this song called Disco Duck. I don't know if you remember that. You're too young for that song.
Yeah, I'm too young.
It was a duck singing disco, right?
I
remember. And I was about 11 years old, and I never forget loving that song because I've been silly my whole life. My whole life I've been silly. And I remember loving that song, and then one day this guy had one of those talk shows like Entertainment Tonight. And he said, when I come back, we're going to meet Mr. Disco Duck. And I was a kid. I'm like, what? I sat there by the TV glued because I wanted to see who this dude is that did Disco Duck, right? The guy comes out, and it was this radio DJ named Rick Dees, who's from Greensboro, but he's a huge he's a legendary radio guy. And he said, my name is Rick Dees. I'm a radio DJ in Los Angeles. You had that big radio voice. Right. Yeah. And I was like, no way. So right then I wanted to be that.
Oh.
At 11.
At 11.
At 11 years old. And I remember the first time I actually touched my dream and touched a microphone in my life. I was 11, and my mom and my sister, my brother went to the movies. And I heard the door shut. And when I heard the door shut and I knew they were gone, I grabbed that brush. My sister had a brush sitting around. I took all her hair out and I threw the hair in the garbage can, and that brush became my microphone. Oh. And I never forget, my first concert I hosted was the Jackson 5 in my head, right? And so, I was like, ladies and gentlemen, it's Busta Brown. Give it up for the Jackson 5. And at the end of the concert, Michael Jackson invited me to come on stage. He was kind of tired. He was like, oh, thank you, my brothers Jermaine and Tito. Buster, would you like to come out here with us? Yeah, I'm like, heck yeah. The crowd went crazy. And I come out and I do the famous Jackson 5 moves with them and did the little hair. We had the afro and they did that little move and that little thing like this, right? Oh, yeah. I did all that with Michael and the Jacksons. And then as I got older, I was on Oprah. She interviewed me. David Letterman interviewed me. As I became more in my teens, I was on Arsenio. And, so when I actually got into radio, it was a piece of cake because I've been doing it since I was 11 here. So the first time I touched my dream when I had that brush and it became a microphone, it was so real I couldn't let it go. I had to be on radio one day, and I had to be on television one day, and so that's how it all started. Is that dream, man, and I realized, and that's why I talk to kids all the time. Anything you can see, you can be.
Did you see that? Did you see the little man's head bobbing back and forth? Yeah, he is so funny.
Yeah, he is. He's an amazing person. I like the fact that he said that just to answer your question, when he said he was 11 years old, he used to take the brush. I remember doing things like that. I would have the brush. And
where would you put the hair?
I put it in the trash.
No, you didn't.
Yes.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You was a kid. No kid did all that. All right, go ahead.
Anyway, I remember doing things like that. So when he was talking about it, I was like, yeah, I remember that. He was talking about Michael Jackson.
Yeah. And I could never do the moonwalk. I was an old person when he came out. So, I was like 9 years older than this boy.
We got to get her to do the moonwalk.
No, you're not. Tell me about that anniversary party.
It was amazing. He was talking about his anniversary party. He said that he had been in business for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And then that it was the same time around his birthday, so he wanted to kind of do like a...
No. Am I invited?
Oh.
I want to know, Buster.
Where's our invitation?
Hello. And one last thing I want to know about Oprah and David Letterman. I thought he meant he was actually yeah. Oprah and David, he had a beautiful, beautiful childhood.
Yeah.
Where he would actually do all of these crazy things.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing, and I want us to go ahead and continue to check out some more of his video. But before we do, we're going to go ahead and acknowledge our sponsors, and we're sponsored by IT Geek Guest. Whoop, whoop. So if you got any problems with your computer or anything that's going wrong, it freezes up, viruses or whatever, those are the people to call.
Become a member of the IT Geek Desk today and save hundreds on your computer repairs. Membership starting at $120 per year or $12.99 per month. The IT Geek Desk, changing the way IT is done.
We're back, and I'm still thinking about you moonwalking. I'm sorry, we're going to get her to moonwalk. It's going to happen.
It's not happening, people. Not at all.
Okay.
I tried and fell on my face, okay?
Oh.
So it ain't going to happen.
Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the rest of the video, and as Busta gets more into his life and talking about it.
All right.
And so you mentioned a little bit. Well, I'll let you talk about your story, how you started from your brush to your radio, and but you did mention about kids and how you talk to them. But can you tell us a little bit about that? Believe that you have a couple of foundations that you have, or
well, how the whole kid thing. I've always loved kids. I had a kid when I was a kid, so yeah. I had my oldest son when I was 16, so I've always loved kids, and we grew up more as friends than father and son. He was more my dad, right? I never forget one day I was trying to dress like I had money and I didn't, right?
We kind of all do.
Right. And so I was spending money I didn't have. This was in the 80s. And so I went and bought this bomber jacket, right? And back then they were hot.
I had a pink one.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
So I was rocking it. So I went to go get this other brown leather jacket. And my son, he was 8. He said, "Dad, you already have a brown jacket. Why would you buy another one?"
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's a good point. Yeah. And he was my dad. He taught me how to be a better person, right? So that kind of thing. So, but what happened is when I got into the whole kid, helping youth, I was in Jacksonville, Florida. And it's a trip how God works. And I hope whoever's watching get something out of the testimony, you got to let God do God's work.
That's right.
I was on the afternoon show. It was my first break in radio, getting a chance to do my own thing when I went to Jacksonville, Florida, right? And I was on the afternoon drive, and I was like, yes, I was trying to be like Rick Dees, right? Because my first time doing my thing, right?
Did you have the deep voice?
No, I didn't have. I was trying to sound like him, right? I was trying to sound like improper and all that stuff. Then there was this other cat named Rick Chase in San Francisco that was a beast in radio. So I was trying to be all of these guys. When I was in my early teens, my mom said, she said, people like you, boy. You're gonna be something. And I was like, yeah, whatever. I was a kid. I mean, I did just like that on my head, right? So I'm in the studio in Jacksonville, Florida, trying to, entertain people, and something didn't feel right. And I put the headphones down, and I heard my mother for the first time. Because when I was a kid, I never heard her.
Right.
I was 29, and I heard, people like you, boy. And I thought, they like me, then be myself. And that's when I decided to be myself on the radio in Jacksonville, Florida. And that's how I found out who I was, and that's what I give now. And so I did my thing in no more than 3 months. I really took off. I mean, I was had the #1 show, and they had this best DJ contest of all the radio DJs. I won by 500 votes, man. Yeah, and I was only there for 6 months or so, right? It was crazy because of my mom, right? And so I'm there, and I blew up, and everything was going fantastic. And they had this huge summer concert coming up, and I was excited about it, right? And I'm like, I cannot wait to get in front of all these people and all this, like Super Jam, right? So I was excited. So they switched management, and the new management brought in all his own people, and they moved me, the #1 DJ, to the night show. And I was like, is this dude serious? I was heated, man. I was so upset. It was ridiculous. So now I'm working 7 to midnight instead of 2 to 6, right? Had the best schedule. That was my dream shift, afternoon drive. So I'm mad. So I'm in my car, and I was driving around. I said, well, let me listen to my competition so I can know what I'm up against. So I'm listening to my competition. He was the night guy, because, the night show is the hipper show. That's when all the kids are up. And if it's rap, I was working for a hip-hop station, so they were rapping and all this kind of stuff. So I heard the guy, and he had this show, this segment called Diss and Dismiss, where he had kids calling in, dissing other kids. Yeah, you go to what's the name high school, we gonna come up there, we're gonna beat your butt, me and my gang, and tell that bad word this, and yeah, these kids were tearing each other up, and it was causing fights. And you read the newspaper, these kids were fighting each other, and I'm like, this is ridiculous, right? I said, is this what's going on during night in hip hop? This is what they're doing in the hip hop radio? So I said, I know what I'm gonna do. So my first day at work, doing that shift that I hated, I said, I'm gonna do something called Battle of the Rappers. And if you say anything negative, this is how the hang-up thing started. I'm hanging up on you. That's how the Click and Watusi and all that started.
It's called Click-a-lator.
Yeah, the Click-a-lator. That's how it all started. So the kids would call up and they would rap and say something negative. I hung up, right? You can't say anything. It has to be the most positive rap. And that thing just blew out the roof. This one guy was in a gang, and he would call up all the time just so he can be on the radio, right? And he was rapping positive, and I never hung up on him. His dad called and said, you know what? I was Doc Brown. He said, you know what, Doc? My son Mike, he was in a gang. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. He said, yeah, he wasn't doing well in school. I'm like, no. He said, but he calling you every day on the radio rapping, knowing he wasn't living that lifestyle. And what happened is he rapped about it so much, his grades are up, he's no longer in the gang, and he became the person he rapped about. Wow. Because he wanted that spotlight so bad. Yeah. He never fit in anywhere. He was short and different things like that, and he felt like he didn't belong anywhere. That's why he joined the gang. Well, he found himself in himself. Like I said, the greatest love is inside of you. Mike found that. And so that's when I started working with kids. I realized, wow, they all have it here, and they do things just because there are not a lot of options for them other than what they see out there. So I created an option, a positive option, and that's when the whole youth, crusade came
Started.
about. Right, that's when all that
And
started.
then goes the Busta Buddies.
Yeah, and then the Busta Buddies and all that kind of stuff. And Jacksonville was the P-tip. It's like, you have, I used to always use your baby finger, say just a small effort makes a big difference. So that's how all that started.
Oh. Click, 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 later. Hey, Busta Brown, why you hang up on? I remember that. I was going to go ahead and start singing it.
Sing. No,
Yeah.
no.
No, I was going to sing in an interview, but I didn't want him to go, huh?
Because he didn't mention it.
No.
Not one bit.
You notice he went over there.
He just
was like,
went
yeah,
over
that's-
there. When he said about having a child to be their best friend,
Mm-hmm.
my children have always been my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always taken my oldest daughter, to all the movies, hanging out, what are the movies you saw with me?
Now they know that you're my mom.
Okay.
Okay. I remember going to see Richard Pryor. I remember being like, there was like.
Don't hate me, people. There was no laws back then, okay? Don't hate the girl, all right?
I remember being in kindergarten having all the Richard Pryor jokes.
Don't hate us. It wasn't a big deal back then. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, so I could relate to that too when he's saying that his child was his best friend and he grew up with her. I like the fact that he is a very positive person because when he said the clickulator, how it actually came about is he was saying it was a negative
Vibe on the radio. Yeah.
and so you had to say something positive, and I like the fact that he's talking about the child who would start rapping positive things when that wasn't his environment, but because he was rapping about it, that became his environment. So I thought
That's a positive note.
I thought
For
that was
children.
pretty cool. Yeah.
And it was chilling in my part when I first heard that. That he took his life and he brought it to another life.
Right.
And he tells how he started with kids. Although Busta Brown is a little long-winded. Just a little. Because he got to tell you how he got there. I like that.
Well,
Yeah.
Busta Brown's like that. That granddaddy said, "Come here, boy. Let me tell you a story. Come here."
Just a little story.
We love you, Busta.
Yeah.
Let's continue watching his video. He's got so much to say. Go ahead.
And then I started the nonprofit, the next level, and started Midnight Basketball, and the rest is history. So,
So you went from the brush,
yeah,
to radio, and now you are transitioning over to TV. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, I've done the Busta Brown show for years, and I host Black College Sports Today on BET for 3 years. So I've done TV, and I know how to do TV, but I don't know how to do news TV.
Oh.
That was a whole. So when WXI called, I'm like, all I'm doing is traffic. That's a piece of cake. I read traffic on the radio for 30 years. That's what we do. It's traffic going on. You read it. It's it. It's a whole new ball game doing news TV. I mean, it seems easy because they make it look easy. So obviously Kimberly Van Scoy and Nicole Duker and Austin Cavanis and Wanda Stark, Cameron Ken, and all the people I work with, they're fantastic at what they do. They're geniuses at what they do because they fooled me into thinking this is going to be easy. And I walk in there, man, and it was a train wreck. So the transition was tough because it's about information being the star, not you. I come from you need to be the star. Your personality has to be the star. And then whatever happens around it, that's where I come from throughout my career. But in news, whether it's traffic, whether it's weather, whether it's news, whatever it is, that's what people are coming to watch the news for, is to be informed. And if you can do that effectively, people will find your personality. They'll see it there somewhere. They'll say, I noticed one day he did this. He's kind of funny. I like that about him. That'll just naturally happen. But news is about news and information. And so that transition was the toughest part, is saying you have to get away from being the personality and give the information effectively, right? And once you know how to do that, it's not as nerve-wracking, so that's the transition that was the toughest. But once you're effective at what you do and you have your stuff together, then you can go ahead and do a little Busta. And I was thinking, it's just going to be all Busta. Oh, and by the way, it's some traffic. By then they turned to another station because they wanted traffic.
Yeah.
Right. So you don't want to risk that. So that was the biggest transition in TV. Yeah.
Well, Busta, it seems like you've done it all. So is any future plans, or is there anything else that you have on your table that you're going to do?
The only thing I like to do next is I want to take my Busta Buddies to another level. I want to make that a TV show. I want Busta Buddies to be an international deal, and I want to do a youth award, like I did the Teen Image Awards. I want to take something like that and make it a national thing, and so that's my next goal, is to make Busta Buddies a TV show that's fun, that's dealing with talented youth and positive youth, and you have young people out there that want to be presidents, and they're grooming themselves to be the president. We don't hear about those kids. Right. You have kids grooming themselves to be a scientist. I was talking to my kids about, there's an audience for everybody, and as we sitting here talking, there's about 50,000 people at a coliseum at a science fair. There's 50,000 people at somebody coliseum somewhere at an arts fair. And most of our kids are focused on where they see the coliseums being filled by rappers and athletes. But there's an audience for everything. There's a way to make money doing everything. If you're a janitor, man, there's a janitor conference somewhere. Yeah. And there's 50,000 people wanting to see you and buying your book because you're the best to ever do it. So that's my thing. I want to spotlight those kind of kids and those kind of adults that's making a difference. Like yourself, all the different things you do with all the different shows you do, it's always for a cause. And I want to be able to make sure people like that, or like yourself, are known. And, since I have a following, I would like people to know about the Donna Walkers of the world and people like that. So.
Wow, you're amazing.
Yeah.
I just have to say, you're very amazing. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. So how could people find you? How could they look up Busta Brown and see what Busta Brown is up to next?
Hit me on Facebook, because I'm always on Facebook lately. I've learned how to get more active with my social networking. So hit me up on Facebook at my name is Minari Busta Brown. If you go there, I'm always there on Facebook, or you can go to BustaBrownLive.com. And hit me up. But Facebook, I'm always right there. Yeah. I'm going to have to get a new Facebook page. I need a fan page. So, yeah.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this has been a pleasure. I've been speaking to my...
It's fun.
Wow. He's really amazing. And,
yes, he is.
I have to say this about him. He is he's got such a great heart, and the fact that he's doing Busta Buddies, that was beautiful, and I feel really, really happy that we were able to go ahead and sit down and do this interview with him to get to know Busta a little bit more. So I want to thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Busta.
Thank you, Busta, for the interview. Thank you guys for looking at our episode. And next,
wait a minute. Tell us a little about the book.
Courtesy of Raw Steel Radio. I will be on twice a month, and I will be talking about the different authors who wrote a book. And normally these authors are up-and-coming authors or authors who have been out there. And the good thing about this book club is that the author themselves will actually be online, so you can actually interact with them and talk about the book. Talk to them so that you get more of a knowledge of what they're talking about. Exactly. And we're starting off the book club with this book called Myth, Memoirs, and Confessions of an Ex-Felon. Okay. And Romaine is actually the person who is the author of the book and the owner of Raw Steel Radio. So we'll be discussing his book, which is pretty cool. And I'm very excited, and I can't wait to start talking to folks about, what's going on with their books.
Well done. It looks like we've come to the end of this episode.
Thanks for watching the Big Chat, and see you next week.